Vijita, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Vinay. So very warm good evening to everyone. This is Jeta Shastri here from the TIE Bangalore team. Of course, today we have a very, very interesting conversation. So first, a note of gratitude to Rashmi for joining us. And of course, it is my honor and duty to also introduce the moderator, someone who's really helpful to us at TIE Bangalore, Madhurima. She's a very inspiring leader herself and has got wonderful credentials and the support of the ecosystem. So Madhurima, of course, a director at NetApp, and she's also managing and running this really wonderful NetApp Accelerator program. So thank you so much, Madhurima, from all of us. So without further delay, over to you, Vinay, and to Madhurima and Rashmi. We are all big fans of your wonderful books and love them all. And thank you so much for taking time out for us. And with this, let's get cracking. Thank you so much, Madhurima and Rashmi. Looking forward. Take care.
Thank you, Vichita. It's such a pleasure to be here. And today we have with us Rashmi Bansal. Rashmi is a celebrated author. She's a writer, entrepreneur, and a motivational speaker. Rashmi has authored 10 best-selling books on entrepreneurship, which have sold more than 1.2 million copies and been translated in 12 languages, including Korean and Vietnamese. Rashmi's first book was Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, a runaway bestseller, and it talked about stories of 25 MBAs from IIM Ahmedabad who went on to create successful businesses. We are privileged to have Rashmi with us today to share some of her thoughts around how to tell a beautiful story and the power of storytelling and how it impacts the life of an entrepreneur. So with that, let me invite Rashmi. Hi, Rashmi.
Hi, Madhurima. Wonderful to be here with all of you, and I look forward to today's session.
Thank you, Rashmi. We are all very excited to have you here. And given that it's Women's Day today and we have a lot of women entrepreneurs in this session, we're looking forward to getting some great insights from you. So I have a few questions for you, and then I'll hand it over to you to just walk our audience through some of the tips or the best practices around storytelling. So while we do that, tell me, what is the importance of storytelling? How is it important, especially for an entrepreneur?
I think today we are bombarded with a lot of information. Every moment there is some information or news coming to us through various mediums, in person, through screens, through WhatsApp. And most of it just doesn't stay with us, doesn't stick in the brain. But we are designed to actually connect with stories because they have a certain emotional content. As engineers and MBAs, we're actually taught to scrub out all the emotions from our presentations, our report, our PowerPoints, so that it's very factual, it's very, black and white. But the human brain is designed to actually connect and feel inspired by stories. So if you can distill certain, important aspects of your journey into small nuggets, small stories, whenever you meet someone and you want them to remember that, you are a company that stands for a particular thing, if you can share it in story form, it's more likely to actually remain with your audience, with your customer, with your investors. So I think that's the magic of storytelling. We've all grown up on stories, especially in India. We're a storytelling culture. I mean, everything we've learned through Ramayana, Mahabharata, Panchatantra tales, they didn't tell us be good, be honest, be, they conveyed all these important morals and lessons through stories. So I think it's doubly important in India to use stories for making an impact and standing out from the crowd.
Great. Yes. Now that you say it, yes, in school we are taught, just focus on data, be logical, facts will speak for themselves. But as you very well said, historically in India, we have grown up on stories and they've had a profound effect on us. So great. Thanks for sharing that. And I think we look forward to the next 45 minutes to hear from you on how to tell a beautiful story. Before we get to that, today's Women's Day, I do want to ask you a question. In your journey where you have chronicled, the stories of so many entrepreneurs, seen their lives closely, do you think there is anything different that women entrepreneurs need to do?
Well, I have, of course, interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've written a book specifically on women entrepreneurs. And I think that women are as capable, committed, competent, and ambitious as men entrepreneurs. But I think women do want a more balanced life. They don't want to just put all their eggs in one basket. They do want to have work and family and maybe a little bit of personal time, which I think now is also becoming important for the new generation, both men and women. So I think if you don't want to take up a very blistering pace of growth, you want to grow in a more steady manner, you want to have a different trajectory from what is commonly perceived as a startup journey, I think you should have the confidence to do that. I've seen many women I've interviewed who've grown to very large companies, but they took a longer time period to do it. They didn't try to do it in 3 years or 5 years. It's over maybe 10 years, 15 years. So I think everybody can pace out their journey in the manner that is most comfortable to them, and don't feel pressurized that, oh, everybody's doing something and I have to follow that path, and I have to run the fastest. There are 100-meter races, there are 400 meters, and there is marathons. So you have to choose the journey that's most suited for you, and don't let other people, tell you there's only one way to do it. Look around and you'll see that there are so many different journeys, and you have to follow what feels right for yourself.
Great, thanks for that, Rashmi. I think that's a very profound thought. You have to decide whether you're running a sprint or a marathon, right? And we all, at least, the importance of patience, hard work, and determination. It's been told to us over many stories we've heard about that. Yes, somehow, sometimes you just see a rock star, you see the success overnight, although it's the 10 years of hard work that might have gone into making that an overnight success. We don't get to hear about that probably that much. But thanks for sharing that. And I would now like to hand it over to you, to help us, the audience, understand how to tell these powerful stories. And post that, we can, if we have some time, we'll take some questions from the audience. So I'd request the audience to please type your questions in chat, and then that will be taken up at the end.
Thank you, Madhurima, and thank you to NetApp and to TiE Bangalore for inviting me for this storytelling masterclass. 45 minutes is a very short time, but I will attempt to actually share with you the secret of storytelling, and it's actually very simple. I would love if we could have a more interactive session. So I want to just take a vote from all of you. I do have a PowerPoint presentation prepared. But I think that storytelling has traditionally been something that people do one-on-one. We sit, around a bonfire, or we sit under a peepal tree, or we, sit with our grandmother. So there is a more human element. We can look at each other, we can connect with each other. So if some of you are willing to put the camera on and be interactive, I would actually like to have a much more interactive session where you can participate. So maybe if I see about 6-7 people putting the camera on, then we can do it that way. Otherwise, I can go back to the usual PPT format. And really happy to see many men also joining this event on Women's Day. I think Women's Day is just an excuse for us to take out a little time from our very busy schedule as founders to gather here and learn something from each other. Okay, so I see a few of you have, come on screen. So I'll proceed without the PPT. I think Gaurav is saying we're not allowed to unmute ourselves. Is that true? I mean, I don't know. There are only 32 participants. So
no, I could manage now. Sorry.
Okay, fine. All right. So yeah, so a couple of requests. One more request is I'm going to ask you to do one exercise. Okay, very simple exercise, because it's the most powerful way to learn is by doing. So if you could keep a pen and pencil, handy, or if you can write on your laptop, or you can take your phone and write in the notes of your phone. So all these options are there. I'm not expecting you to write something very elaborate, but just a couple of 100 words, right? So let me start as per the theme of our, our discussion today. It's about storytelling. So let me start with a story. Today, I was introduced by Madhurima as a best-selling author. But as many of you would know, that the journey of overnight success, it takes a long time. It takes maybe 20, 25 years. So my journey also began much before the book Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish was published. It started when I was a student in college at Sophia College in Mumbai. I had this little kida, I wanted to see my name in the Times of India newspaper, because every morning my father would read it for 1.5 hours, and it was like a really a big part of our lives, and I wanted my name there. So I wrote an article, I typed it out, and I sent it by post to the editor of Times of India. Exactly 1 week later, I got my own self-addressed, self-stamped envelope with a tiny little rejection slip, which said the editor regrets he cannot publish your article due to lack of space. So I wrote another article. I sent it by post. I wrote another article. This happened 2, 3, 4 times. Every time I would get a rejection slip 1 week later, almost as if no one's opened my article and read it. Now, the 4th time this happened, I got really angry. I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to give up so easily. I'm going to just, I have to see my name in there. I don't think the editor knows best. And I just kept trying and trying. And after 40 weeks, on the 41st week, my article got published. And that was the start of my writing career, for which I got paid 100 rupees. So I tell the story to all the participants of my workshops because it has a lesson or two in it. What did the story convey to you?
Relentless pursuit.
Okay, relentless pursuit. Yes.
You are very patient.
I'm very patient. No, I was very stubborn, maybe. So it conveys different things to different people. Maybe believe in yourself. I mean, I could have just assumed that the editor knows best, and if he's rejected me, that means I'm no good. But I somehow persisted, and I got that success, and that's why I went on to become a writer. So if we tell people things like "don't give up easily," it just sounds like a platitude. It doesn't sound. It just speaks to our mind. But when you hear a story like this, it speaks to your heart. You can probably recall some incident in your own life where you faced rejection or failure, right? And you can say, well, maybe I gave up too easily. I'll try again next time. Maybe at home, your son is taking guitar classes and, he's like not liking it too much and wanting to give up after 2 weeks. And maybe at that point, you tell them the story, tell your kid the story. Instead of saying, Naini, don't give up easily, you tell a story. And that probably has a much better and deeper impact than directly saying, do this or don't do this, right? So a story speaks to the heart. There is an emotional connection. Now, in my story, there is this anticipation, then there is disappointment, then there is this fighting back, saying, no, I want to do it. And then finally, there is triumph. So there is a victory. So there is a trajectory of a story. Story is never like, a straight line. If boy and girl meet and they live happily ever after, then there is no story. There has to be some drama, tension, obstacle, challenge. Even for a simple love story, there has to be something in the way so that the person in the story, the character, cannot reach their goals so easily. So that's the experience all of us have in life. I don't think any of you would have achieved what you have today in a very straightforward, easy manner. Am I right? Has it been an easy journey? No. So tell me, do you believe you have a lot of stories to tell? Does each of you have a story to tell or several stories to tell?
I live by stories.
Okay, so some of you are already living by stories. Others, I think I meet a lot of people, especially those of us who are very highly qualified, those who've done MBA and BTech, MTech, and so on. We've started using the logical side of our brain a lot. And we've been trained to not, add that emotional connect to the things that we communicate, whether it's especially PowerPoint presentations. I think when we see that, immediately we know it's going to be some facts, it's going to be some data, and the data is very dry and doesn't connect with us. So the trick, as I said, is that we must have emotional connect. When you go to see a movie or you hear a song, you're investing your time in that. So why are you doing it? Because you are going to get some payback. The payback is that when I go to the movie theater or I watch something on my laptop and there's a thrilling movie, I feel a thrill, right? There's a chase, I get an adrenaline rush when there is a car chase on the big screen, and maybe I can't do it in my real life, but I vicariously live through that experience. So there has to be emotion. It could be, I could feel sad when there's a sad story. I could feel, I could feel tense for the characters on screen when it's a horror story. कि अरे अब क्या होने वाला है, कोई मरने वाला है. So I have to feel emotion. So the job of the storyteller is to evoke an emotion in the listener, in the reader. Okay. Now, a couple of more things. What else about the story I just told you? What elements did it include? Anyone? I mean, what makes a story different from any other medium?
Relationships.
Okay, relationships.
You're
More
curious.
more basic than that. There has to be something called.
No, I think you're curious about how it's going to end.
Yeah, so
Emotional connect.
Yeah, emotional connect. We connect to characters, to people. So there has to be one or more characters in a story. Okay. So
Yes,
if you're
the
telling
main
your own
character.
story,
Yes, you were the main character, and you were linked to your father somehow with the times of India. But there was a connection with your father, which was very beautiful.
yeah, actually, I think I was trying to impress them. That's true. If I had a longer version, I would say that yes, that. But even in the short version, you got that there was a linkage to my father, and there was somebody who was standing in the way. There was this guy called the editor of Times of India. Never had met him. He was sitting in an office somewhere in New Delhi, but he was standing in the way of me achieving my goal, right? So, I mean, the path was not easy. There was. I mean, I won't say I'm a hero, but just to be very simplistic, a hero and a villain, or basically a character, a protagonist and an antagonist. मतलब मुझे कुछ चाहिए, but I'm not getting it. So who's standing in my way? Who or what is standing in my way?
Huh?
So basically, we need to have these basic elements in a story: the characters, some kind of conflict or challenge, and what happens, the curiosity factor. From point A to point B, how do we move? Right? As you said, something should happen. If it remains that I kept trying and nothing happened, then there's no story. That would be a very dead story. So you're expecting something to happen. And that's why you stay up and you watch the next episode and the next episode of Netflix series. And they always leave you at that point where, there's a cliffhanger and you want to know ki aage kya hoga. But even if it's a very small story, it should still follow this pattern of, from point A to point B, we have to have a journey of the character, right? Now, I want to do a very small exercise with all of you, okay? This whole thing that I've described to you is the principle of storytelling called show, don't tell, okay? Instead of me saying that, believe in yourself, don't give up easily, I am relating it through an experience I had. And I'm giving you a lot of detail in that experience. I'm telling you that I got rejected 41 times. Instead of saying I got rejected many times, I'm giving you detail. Many could be like 3 or 4 times also. Aapko kya pata? When I tell you 41 times, you realize, wow, that really requires persistence. So in a story, you must give detail. In my books, I give some details which people might say are unnecessary. Like I give the school and college of the every entrepreneur and which town they were born in, where did their father work in a bank. Please, I'll give the name of the bank also. Because many times people write to me saying that, you know what, so-and-so you wrote about his father works in State Bank of India. My father also worked in State Bank of India. And for that reason, they connect more with the story. So the things which seem like unnecessary details, they have some meaning to some of the readers. And it doesn't hurt us to add those details. It makes it more alive, right? You're getting the point. I mean, sometimes we are tempted to really put something in a very concise format. But saying somebody is a bank employee, they could be working in ICICI Bank or State Bank, and that's two different things. State Bank of India, already you know, that means they probably lived in some kind of a colony. You know, they were middle class, they didn't have that much money. Private bank means something else, that is like probably a upper middle class household. So every detail you give can add to the value of your story and the connect that it makes with your readers or listeners. Okay. Now, the most important thing is that as a writer, you have only the words with you, and you have to use these words to create a scene so that when I'm reading or I'm listening to you, I can visualize it. Okay, when we watch a movie or a video, it's all given to us already. Somebody has shot it, somebody has presented to us some kind of a drama where there's a policeman, there is a criminal. Just by looking at the police guy's uniform and the criminal's behavior, we know this is what we know what's happening on the screen. But in a story that you're narrating or you're writing, you have to bring it alive by thinking, going back to that. If it's a true story, then recollecting that incident, right? When you were there. Use all your five senses. Like suppose you were standing in your office. What does the office look like? Is it an open plan office? Is it a huge office? Is it a tiny office? Is it in a garage? What was, you have to recreate the physical and the emotional experience of that incident which you're trying to relate. Any clarifications or questions on this point? Because I'm going to ask you to do a very short exercise.
Oh, I didn't understand this. What exactly was that?
Okay, I'll just explain in the form of the exercise. Suppose I give you a statement. My daughter got hurt yesterday. Okay, this is a statement. It's a very bland, very concise. It doesn't give you much of a picture of what happened. So then I want to ask the questions, what happened? Where did it happen? How did it happen? What was the scene when you went there? Aapne kya dekha wahan pe? Right? Did your child fall off a tree or, scrape her knee, or did she step on a stone and start bleeding? Was there a lot of blood there? You getting what I'm saying? You have to take me to that scene. You have to help me visualize what happened there.
Okay.
So are you all ready to do this exercise?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll give you about 3 to 4 minutes. You can just jot down, and if you don't want to write, you can jot down the points so that you could narrate it to me. So I'll give you about 3 to 4 minutes for that. If you can recall an actual incident, it's great. If not, you can just make up something and narrate it.
Related to your statement.
Yeah, the statement is this: my daughter got hurt yesterday.
Okay.
So those of you who are joining, so there is a statement that Rashmi shared around my daughter got hurt yesterday. You have 3 to 4 minutes to prepare your story and narrate it. We have a couple more minutes left. Yeah, we see Nupur has raised a hand.
All right, Nupur, you've raised your hand. Would you be okay to volunteer and share what you've written?
Yeah, so I did not write.
Okay, yeah.
It was a clear visual in front of me. So I'll start.
Okay.
So it was Sunday morning, and I dropped my daughter off Kaban Park, where she skates regularly. And after dropping her, I went off to have a coffee with my friend. And just right after to my coffee, I received a call from my daughter's friend that she's fallen off and she's hurt herself, and I literally panicked. And I was very far from Kaban Park, so the friend offered to bring my daughter to the hospital, Aster, which was on the way. So they brought her there. She had her hand fractured. So as it was Sunday, it was a bit crazy, but we managed to get first aid at Aster, and finally it's all okay now.
Okay. All right. So would anyone like to give Nupur some feedback? Did the story cover all the things that we talked about? Did it have clear characters, conflict, and curiosity factor? Anyone?
It was a more factual description, while Nupur did describe the what do you call the background, or let's say Kaban Park, and then where she went for coffee and all that. But I felt it lacked some feelings.
Okay. Yeah, I think Nupur, your content is there, but maybe I think what Chandrima is saying, she has a point, is that emotion didn't come through. Like you just said, I panicked, but that is more like again telling than showing. So maybe I might do the story in the way that I'm at Starbucks, I'm enjoying a coffee with my friend, and it's one of the few times I get to relax because my daughter is gone for skating, and suddenly I get this call, and then there's this whole panic which happens because you try to call a taxi, nahi milta hai. So some things have to happen which make it more dramatic.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, but well done. Thank you for trying and for for sharing. I mean, it's nice that you shared. Maybe you can go back and again, as I said, you want to, if this is a true incident, if you relive it, you'll come up with a lot more details. I know I didn't give you much time because I mean we have only 45 minutes. I am unable to give you the amount of time that you need, but I think you'll get it the second time when you try writing. Chandrima, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So my 15-year-old daughter, who's suddenly realized that she needs to lose weight, so she started having green tea very regularly. But she's not allowed to use the gas and the fire. She's not supposed to be doing that. We didn't realize that when you tell your child not to do that and they still want boiling water, they can use the microwave, and that can be equally dangerous. She did that. She dropped boiling water on her leg, right thigh, and she was wearing jeans. So when I heard her scream, I went, and it was quite a bad sight in the sense that the jeans had soaked the boiling water. So we had to take out the jeans in the process, and her top layer of skin, which is the epidermis, came out. And I screamed so loud that she started laughing in spite of the pain. So to me, and I almost felt her pain much more than she felt her own pain. And I realized that she's somebody who's got a very high threshold of pain that's been for her since she was a child. So it's actually, while the incident was to me, it was quite a sight, but it became a joke of the family that, I got burnt, and my mom screamed and cried much more than I did, that it became a comedy show at the end of it. So yeah, that's my story.
All right. Would anyone like to share their feedback on the story that Chandrima just related? Gaurav?
Feedback, I'm scared about what I'm going to say now.
Okay. Yeah. So I think so. My feedback would be, I think it's got a kind of a twist in the tail. You know, the fact that it's not really about the daughter getting hurt, but it's about it becomes more about the mother. So that's interesting. So when we write stories, actually, if you're going to write the story, then I would say that you can use some elements, like you can have dialogue instead of narrating the whole thing like this. You can have the actual dialogue, and where your daughter has a different way of speaking, which is peculiar to her. So she's a teenager, and you have your own way of speaking. And maybe you want to start again with this, sab acha chal raha, and suddenly there's a scream. So don't explain everything from the beginning. You reveal it slowly. If you tell us right from the beginning, then it loses its punch. So you can start from this point where there's a scream, and then you go and then you discover this, blah blah blah, and then reveal.
Understood. Yeah. Got it.
Okay, so we have time for one more. Shall I? Gaurav, do you want to share or?
I'll go. So I've written it just now, so it's very strange, but let's go for it. So it was a surprisingly chilly morning of March. The clouds were cast and the sun was playing hide and seek. My daughter Kavya, all of 11, had her math exam, which was taken online. She finished her exam by 9 a.m. and just wanted to go out and play. Just as she put on her jumpsuit, it started to drizzle. Don't go out, I heard. And that was Neeti shouting, the mama in charge. Don't go out, she says again. Mera kaam badhaoge. But kids don't listen, especially after a math exam. Off went Kavya, and 1 minute out, we heard a shriek. Ooh, ah, ouch, a clatter of steps, and we all saw Humpty Dumpty Kavya on the floor. And my daughter was hurt today. Sorry, I didn't have time, so I was trying to just try to put it together, but that was my very, very short story.
Just one second, there is someone at the door, so I'll just.
We'd like to thank NetApp for bringing Rashmi on board. Right, I'll just share the link of NetApp's accelerator program. So feel free to check it out and apply for the program. We also have Naveen here. Towards the end, he will be able to share his contacts. Yeah, over to you.
Sorry, by Murphy's law, like the big basket delivery has to come like at this particular time only. But I just want to say, Gaurav, you wrote a very beautiful story. I think this has all the elements that we talked about. I really like that you also named your daughter. I think and nobody else did that. So we didn't even have the name. You named your daughter, you named the mother, Neeti, and you had dialogue in your, it was like recreating a scene on a Sunday morning in your house. So I think, you kind of have imbibed these principles which I was talking about. So well done. And
it pays to be a teacher, right?
Yeah. Okay. I think Vaiti has also raised his hand. I would love to hear from him.
Sure. Okay. So let me just quickly read this. So yesterday in peak summer, it unexpectedly started raining and the city got flooded and the traffic went crazy. Not that it needs too much for this to happen in Bangalore. I had ordered some fruits and vegetables online, but the delivery guy delayed the delivery because of the flooding. The next day morning, we had an important early morning puja at home, and I needed the fruits and vegetables and could not take a chance. I had no choice but to ask my 12-year-old daughter to take a break from her homework and quickly hop across to the store next street and get the stuff. She did buy the stuff, but on the way back, while entering the building, she slipped on a puddle, fell down and twisted her ankle. She limped home slowly, quite upset that she will miss her badminton game the next day. 10 minutes after she finally reached home, the bell rang and the delivery boy came in with the fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Anyone would like to give feedback to Vaiti? Okay, well, you are already an author. I think you've written a book, so I would expect no less from you. I think, yeah, it has, again, all the elements. A little bit of, it's a little bit detached. It's not that, it can have a little more emotion, a little more conflict between you and your daughter. I mean, did she agree so easily to just go and do your work? I'm sure kids don't, say, yes, I will go and buy fruits and vegetables. So a little bit of conflict can be added, which is probably the truth. I mean, that's how real life is. So again, this exercise was just like a small warm-up exercise for you to understand what is show, don't tell, right? Instead of saying something in a very plain, factual manner, you recreate a scene. Okay, you bring in a lot of details. I think Gaurav also talked about, the clouds in the sky, the weather, the atmosphere that day, so you could kind of feel that what was the sky looking like, what was the, if you were seeing a movie, you would again see it with your own eyes. But when you're writing or narrating, you have to bring it out through your writing or through your narration. So 3 things in show, don't tell. One is, think of it as a scene that you're creating, a scene. Second is to include detail, not too much detail also. I'm not saying you should over-explain, but the right amount of detail. Okay, so you have to be selective. Sometimes too much detail also distracts from the story. And the third thing is to make sure that there is an element of drama or conflict between your characters. It just can't be very straightforward. So there has to be some little bit of, even if it's not a very serious conflict, but fir bhi, in this case, in a family situation, won't be a serious conflict, but kuch thoda nok jok, a little bit of dialogue between the mother and the daughter or the father and the daughter, because then the person who's reading can also relate to the story. Oh, ye to mere ghar mein bhi hota hai, right? So that makes the story much more powerful. So, okay, Abhi, any questions? I mean, we can do one more exercise if you are, willing to participate. The second exercise is actually very simple. I think all of you would have experienced in your life. I'm going to put a statement here. I think all of you would agree with this statement. So I'm going to put it here now in the chat. How many of you would agree with this statement? I am a hungry and foolish entrepreneur. Can you raise your hands, please? Yeah, raise your hands or whatever, electronic hands or, okay. So I think everyone in this room is a hungry and foolish entrepreneur. But again, we don't want to say that. I don't want to say, oh, I'm a hungry and foolish entrepreneur. That is not something that is going to connect with your investor or with your customer or with your future employee or with your, if you go for a leadership conclave and you say, I'm a hungry and foolish entrepreneur on stage, it's not going to stay with your audience. So can you recall any experience or incident that has occurred in your journey as an entrepreneur? And, again, related in a show, don't tell manner. Okay, challenge accepted. Chandrima, you raised your hand. Is it for asking a question or just?
No, I think it was for some previous question which you asked.
Fine. Does anyone have any
How
questions?
many of you are entrepreneurs or something like that?
Yeah, okay. So does anyone have a doubt on this exercise?
I didn't understand. What do you mean by, I mean, you're saying stay hungry, stay foolish, right? We are all, whatever, hungry and foolish entrepreneurs. You want a story that proves that, or how is it? What is it?
Yeah, I'm saying relate. I mean, make me believe that in a story format. Give me a story which conveys the same idea. I'm a Hungarian Polish entrepreneur. Is that clear?
The statement is difficult to put in a story form, I feel.
Okay, anything that shows you're passionate about your work. Many people say I'm very passionate about my work, and like, what does that mean?
Okay.
Uska matlab kya hai? Take anything that you feel, shows that you're passionate.
So Daniel has a question. Do we need to type it here? I think you will have to speak it out. We'll just wait for.
Yeah, do we need to type it or do we need to just raise hands? And
Now, I would prefer if you can narrate it. So if you can just hang on to it,
Sure.
share it with us in a couple of minutes when everyone's done.
Sure, thanks.
All right. Have any of you managed to jot down a couple of paragraphs, maybe a short story? Okay, I'm going to invite Daniel to share what he has written. Daniel?
Yeah, hi Rashmi. I just wrote only 2 sentences. Yeah. So what I wrote is, I'm an aspirational human in the form of an enabler to bring employability and free will to work to every human, not by their education, but through their reputed skills. If you wonder how it is possible, please check out my gig economy platform, Gig FWS.
Okay. Yeah, Gaurav?
I didn't write anything, but because
Okay.
I'm an
One
entrepreneur.
second. I just want to give some feedback to Daniel. The thing is, this is not a story. This is like a mission statement. You know, so I mean, if I look at this thing about how you want to enable people who don't have education, you want to make it into a story, then I would look at somebody whom you have recruited who has that kind of a background, you know, like maybe you took someone who's 8th class fail and today he's a coder in your company. So, you know, tell his story or
Okay.
her story,
Got it.
right? So that would be show, don't tell. What you've done is told me, but I cannot see how that happens. How do you enable it?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Gaurav.
I'll go if, because I've already gone, so it would be unfair to others. If anybody else wants to share, it's okay. If not, then I'll share.
Okay. Is there any other volunteer? I think go ahead. If there's anyone else, we'll take them separately.
Sure, but I didn't write anything because this is my real story, so I didn't have to write it down. Anyways, so the story goes like this. I went for my master's in Sweden and had no money. I had gone on a whim, but realized after a month that I will run short of the funds I needed to survive. So I started picking up odd jobs. I washed dishes at first. That's the job they gave an Indian in Sweden. Then I made some pizzas and ended up waiting on tables. There was an exciting job I picked up part-time, which was picking up berries. So I used to pick raspberries and blueberries, and I used to work with these workers from Thailand. It was a very interesting job because A, it was part-time, it paid well, and I made some great friends. So we used to do something very naughty at that time. We used to make our own vodka. And I used to sit with these Thai workers at night, and we used to, distill our own vodka, and we used to drink, make merry. And there was a story behind that too. I speak Thai. My mother is a Sardarni from Thailand, and that was why I was close to those Thai workers. While sitting there, I decided enough is enough. We need to stand up on our feet. So let's do something, crazy. Let's do something, wild. Let's stand so that we are proud. And I started this first company, my entrepreneurship venture called Homework. What I did was I, joined hands with these Thai workers, and we started, going knocking on doors and saying, we'll clean your homes. Now, if that wasn't hungry, nothing was. So we went crazy, door to door, knocking on doors. I was the sales guy. And I got, my first assignment of homework after 30 knocks, 30 houses we had gone to. And I made, this into a business. So we used to clean homes, and I did all the, heavy lifting of the ovens. Ovens were very difficult to, clean. And that was the start of a hungry, passionate entrepreneur in me, cleaning homes in Sweden.
All right. All of you can also express your reactions using the reaction button if you liked the story Gaurav narrated. I think we have a natural storyteller here, Gaurav. You've got a great sense of, how to narrate also, not just the content, but to tell it so in such an interesting way too. And yeah, I think this is exactly. Sometimes you want to convey this idea that you are a hungry entrepreneur. This conveys that quite well, I think. So it's not that hard. I think everyone has the stories. You have the stories hidden away in your mind. Some of us find it easier to express them. Some of us feel hesitant, oh, is it good enough? Will anyone be interested? But the moment you start telling a story, people are interested. Everyone's story is different. So what may seem very ordinary to you is very interesting to the other person. So don't think that my story is not good enough or people won't connect with it. There's always value to your story. Mr. Narayan Prasad, you had raised your hand. Did you want to narrate? Okay, I don't know. I think someone else had raised their hand.
Can you hear me?
Money part is okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Is that Mr. Prasad?
I'm Professor Narayan Prasad.
Yeah.
I'm not
Would you like to?
trader.
Yeah.
But being a teaching professor in a degree college in a rural area of Karnataka, a decade back,
okay,
I was helping the students to have a career, to know the career after degree. I used to train them on Sundays and the holidays, and students who were government college students, economically weaker students, and more than 50% used to be girls. They were coming.
I think he's frozen.
He has, I think, poor connection.
Okay. We'll wait for him to rejoin. Money, you wanted to share something?
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go on. Mani, just unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hey, hi, Rashmi. Thanks for allowing me to talk. So this is the story that I like to tell it in a very generic way. I mean, you can give your suggestions. The story goes like this. I start the day at 6 a.m. in the morning. When I get inside my office and sit in my chair, there is always a problem to be sorted out every minute. The problems could be in HR and accounts, delivery, sales. So every night I think that, are we going in the right direction? The moment I see my customers and employees are happy, then I start my day again with the full fresh again at 6 a.m. That's it.
Okay. Any feedback to Mani? Okay, so I think it has potential as a story, but it's not yet a story. Can you tell us about any one particular problem? I'm not clear what are your problems.
Okay.
Right. So if you could pick up one problem and narrate that and say that, okay, tomorrow there'll be another one, but I'll still be enthused and I'll get up and go and do it. That would make it a more interesting story for me and for your readers and anybody in your company also. If you're a leader, you're sending a newsletter, you want to have something, as I said, you have to share the details. It's thoda bahut generic ho gaya.
More specific details. Yeah, got it.
Like Gaurav told, he went to Sweden. He didn't say I went abroad to study. He went to Sweden. So that itself is a little weird. It's not the general place where people go to study. So having those details matters. Yeah. Okay, so I'll throw the floor open.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm Narayan Prasad. I hope now you can hear me.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Because this story connects you actually.
Sure. Oh, okay.
So a decade back, I was training the students, rural students, economically weaker.
Okay. Have we lost him again? Can't hear you actually, Dr. Dr. Naran. I think he's
Students got selected to Wipro.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. He's on mute, I think.
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of logged in through a couple of devices. I think there is a poor internet over there.
Okay, could you send him a message saying he can email the story to me?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I think almost at the end of time. So I'm happy to take a couple of questions if anyone has. If there are any questions or any clarifications or doubts. I mean, I've tried to run through in 45 minutes what is my lifetime of, my, what should I say? The secret of being a storyteller. So I hope, although I know the time was very less for you to actually write, but it just gives you a flavor of, what's the difference between a case study and a story, or a PPT and a story, or a factual report and a story. And the next time that you're invited to give a talk somewhere, or you need to tell your brand story, or you need to convince an investor, you'll think a little bit more about how to add story elements rather than appeal only to their mind, also try and appeal to their heart. Any questions? I'll also leave my email in the chat. So if anyone would like to, mail me what they've written, because time was limited here. So if you would like to email and send me what you've written, that's also fine. I'll get back to you. Even if you've narrated here and you would like to, share an improved version of the story, that's also fine. I've had a couple of people asking me whether I conduct these sessions. So the answer is yes. It's usually about a 3-hour workshop where we, practice in more detail. I think I've told you the principles, but to, internalize them, to actually start using them, practicing them, you need a little more time. And so this was just a glimpse. In the actual workshop, I do 2 or 3 kinds of workshops. One is short story writing. One is personal storytelling. If we have a group of founders, we could do founder storytelling workshop. Depends on the group that I'm interacting with. I've done corporate storytelling also. So depending on your interest level, we can do a detailed workshop, where you will have enough time and enough mind space to really practice the art of storytelling. So there is one question in the chat about how to overcome writer's block. So my answer is that you have to just write. There's nothing else. You just have to sit down and write. Suppose you want to swim and you just go on like watching videos about swimming and the theory of swimming, it doesn't work. You have to jump in the pool and you have to start swimming. It will help to have an instructor, but even after you learn swimming, to improve your stamina, to improve your speed, you need to do it on a regular basis. So it's the same with writing. The more you write, the better you get at it, the more naturally you start seeing stories all around you. When you walk on the road, you see a story. When you're sitting at the airport, you see a couple next to you, see a story. So you see stories everywhere. Everyone has a story. And there are 2 ways to write a story. One is it's your imagination, it's fiction. But of course, it's somewhere rooted in reality. Even fiction stories have characters you can relate to. They may not be true people, but the kind of stories which work are those where there is an element of, even in a fantasy story like Harry Potter, the boarding school and the situation there was based on reality. Magical elements were fantasy, but the interaction with the children, there is a Malfoy, there is a Harry Potter, there is, there are mean children, there are friendly children, all that is real. So the second is non-fiction, which maybe as a founder, you want to tell your true story. So in that case, yes, you have to mine your own life and your own memories, your own experiences. And there are techniques to do that, and we can work on that too. So I'll end by just, I didn't do a screen share throughout, but I just want to do it right now to just show you that the first story which I had shared, it's a true one. Okay, this is the article which got published, the first article which I told you about. So if I were narrating the story, I would only use this picture. I wouldn't put anything else on the slide and spoil it by saying, bullet point A, B, C. No, this just proves the story was real, and therefore I have found the clipping and I use it in the presentation, right? Okay. Yeah, so thank you everyone. Again, thank you NetApp, thank you Tai, and thanks to all the volunteers who shared their stories, because I know I put you all on the spot and made you write and also narrate. And sometimes people are shy, but you all stepped forward, and that made it a much more interesting experience than me just sharing my PPT and talking. I hope you had a fun session, and yeah, I hope to see you in one of my workshops in future. And keep writing, keep looking for stories. Your life is a story. Everyone's life is a story. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
so
Rashmi.
much.
Compelling takeaways. In fact, giving details and emotional connect. In fact, I also have a Thailand and Sweden connect. After hearing Gaurav's wonderful story, I was able to ping him on LinkedIn and let him know that I've also got a similar background. So again, thank you everyone. From Thai's end, what we'll do is we will crowdsource those of you who are interested in a longer workshop, and we will get in touch with Rashmi and the NetApp team on a future session as well. Thank you everyone, and wish you all a happy Women's Day and great times ahead. Thank you everyone.